What's up, guys? Welcome to Box to Box Football, and we are here for what's this series called again? The best,
The
the
best,
best,
greatest.
the greatest positions. Yes, the greatest position series. And
Yeah.
again, we've done goalkeeper, we've done center backs, right back, left back, center midfielders, and now we're on to the wingers. And we've decided instead of us like making both sides, because the way wingers are and like the way that they're allowed to interchange compared to fullbacks, we just want to put them all together because you can say a player plays in this position, but they played in that position too in their career. So we put all wingers together, and we're gonna pick five wingers each, so five of the all-time greatest wingers. And let's go and let's pick our greatest wingers of all time. Now, this is a weird one at the same time for us because what players that you consider a winger might be considered a mid attacking midfielder to you, maybe a striker to you, but
Right.
we would like to go for where we consider them to play originally. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like, for instance, like, okay, I'm going to mention one that he's definitely going to be in there, Messi. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know he's
To be fair, I will caveat that with either played there originally or played the majority of their
their
career there.
career,
I think
and
that's
people will
fair.
go like, "Oh, Messi played false nine," and Messi's been all over the place. But
Right.
originally, and where he's played the majority of his career is out wide. When like Suarez came and they created the MSN, Messi went he went back to being a wide player.
Also stylistically, I feel pretty confident in saying none of the names we're going to bring up you would think of in terms of their body type and their play type are like out and out strikers. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
none of the players we're going to bring up here are going to play like Robert Lewandowski, Harry Kane, Karen Benz. This is not that same style. These are different. But to get it started, I do have a trivia question for James because obviously
So
when James asked me a
so we
question,
guys we always do this draft sort of format. So I go, Jack goes, I go, because not times out of ten I'm gonna get it right. My trivia
yeah.
is on, but Jack probably has a tough one for me today. He caught
And
me out last time.
also 9 times out of 10, if James asks me the question, I'm going to get it wrong because I'm an idiot and I don't think, I just guess. Well, so James, first of all, I wanted to make sure it was tricky, but I also wanted to make sure that it was relevant to where we're at. So this is a question based on the Euros. So question is, which player who would then go on to play in England scored the Czech Republic's goal in the Euro 96 final against Germany?
Euro '96 final. Oh my
If that's
days.
really hard, I'll give you a
No,
choice of
I know his
four.
name because I knew that he
Okay.
played for Arsenal. Oh my days. Koviak. I know it's something like that. Did he
Do,
score the chip?
do you want me to give you because the website I found this question it has a choice of four. So do you want to give me the four names?
Okay, yeah, four names.
Okay.
Four names.
Karel Poborski,
Okay.
Patrick Berger,
Yeah.
Vladimir Smicer,
Yeah.
Milan Baros.
And what year was it? 90.
Euro 96 final against Germany. Which player who would go on to play in England scored the Czech Republic's goal in the Euro 96 final against Germany? Karel Poborski,
Yeah.
Patrick Berger, Vladimir
Okay, let's
Smicer.
go. Let's go Patrick Berger because I know he played for Liverpool.
Yeah, that's correct. Well
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Good man. Well done.
Sometimes,
That was awesome. That was a tricky
sometimes
one.
you got to break it down. Because
Yeah.
Milan Baros, I knew signed for Liverpool, around 2004, 2005, and I was like, couldn't
Right.
be him. And the other two, I didn't really hear much of. So, okay, so I'm going to start off. Oh, Jack,
We're
you know what it
basically
is?
just going to, like, this one didn't really matter because you're going to take one, I'm going to take the other, right?
Okay, because people gonna this is a tough one. I'm gonna go because he's more traditional in this position. I'm gonna go for Cristiano Ronaldo as my number one pick. And do I really need to tell you about Cristiano Ronaldo, five-time Ballon d'Or winner, five-time Champions League winner, has won the league with Real Madrid. Real Madrid's all-time leading goal scorer. Man, has won the league with Man United, won the Champions League
James,
with Man United.
people wouldn't be watching the channel if they didn't know who this man was.
Listen,
I'm
I'm
just
not
like,
gonna listen. Perhaps the greatest football player of all time. I don't really. We don't need to get into anything about Ronaldo. There's videos on Ronaldo here. You can scroll down upon it. But yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo, my number one pick.
yeah, and shockingly, guys, and I'm actually quite happy I have the number 2 pick here because I can kind of defend myself here a little bit. But yeah, shock horror, guys. I'm going to take Lionel Messi. Yeah, like
And
big surprise.
and guys, like, there's only maybe you can put one or two to three players ahead of Messi and Ronaldo. Like, let's
Right.
be truthfully honest here. You put maybe Pele or Maradona ahead of them.
But
The,
most of the time as well, James, that's if you're like an old head as well,
you
who
know,
like,
these these two are freaks beyond freaks.
yeah,
Ronaldo, first of all, is going to end his career scoring the most goals in the history of football, scoring the most goals for the greatest football team the world has ever seen, Real
right.
Madrid. He's going to score more goals for his country and also going to score more goals as an international player. So is there really to argue? Messi
No,
has a record 6 Ballon d'Ors. Like, these two are defining football. We can say who's better. We can say that, oh, like, these guys didn't have the nutrition and all that, but the longevity of these two puts them on a cloud nine of their own. The rest are great all
yeah.
time. Like, we're not taking nothing away from them, but these two are just
There's a drop off. There's a gap. That's the thing. The one thing I will say, which I'm happy that I've got Messi as my first pick, is I think a lot of people point me as like a Messi hater, and it's like, yeah, I think Cristiano Ronaldo is the greatest to ever do it. I think there's mental traits and there's other parts of him that enable him as greatness. I think Messi's a better football player than Cristiano Ronaldo, but Cristiano Ronaldo brings so much more to the team. But guys, Messi, Ronaldo is the greatest by the skin of your teeth type stuff compared to Messi. These two are inseparable when it comes to conversations. Go down any Twitter thread that mentions one or the other, and you don't have to scroll too far where the other one gets brought up. But anyway, the real kind of list where James and I may differ in opinion starts now. James, who's your second pick?
second pick. Oh, Jack, this is a tough one
My number
because
3 and 4 are pretty easy. I think
because I could
then it gets
because
shaky.
I can pick on football or the position.
Okay,
That's for me. That's where I differ. But you know what? Because I'm gonna go for just football, like football based a lot more in how he makes me feel. I'm gonna go for Johan Cruyff. Now, Johan
that
Cruyff
was
played a number of positions. Yes,
that
people
was
can
my
call him a
one too.
striker. People
Yeah,
can call him a number 10. Like, in Holland, especially when growing up, they teach you to play. You play in all positions. So Johan Cruyff wasn't particularly put down to one position. But if you had to pick one, he's a wide man. Do I need to tell you about the greatness of Johan Cruyff? Three-time Ballon d'Or winner. He's won everything in the game with Barcelona. Real Madrid revolutionized the game. Technically, probably the best in this whole list. Like, the things this guy can do. I'm talking like, what, he was 6 foot, 6'3", lanky, long. His ability to get away from play with
long
them long
legs.
ostrich strides, just incredible. The technical ability of him. He was like he was the one that really defined Holland, and then we got to see the greatness of all the rest of the guys come true, like Ruud Gullit, like Marco van Basten, like Robin van Persie, Arjen Robben, Dennis Bergkamp, because of Johan Cruyff. And yeah,
I don't think you're going to agree with my next one, but I'm going to go with it anyway, just because for me, this is like another thing where for me, he passed the eye test. That's how I knew this guy was so good. My second pick is going to be Luis Figo. And Luis Figo is,
he was on my
in my
list, Jack.
opinion,
He was on my list, so it wasn't anything that.
yeah, like Luis Figo is a really weird one because he was a big man. I think a lot of people think because he has quite a stocky build, people think he's over 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". He was actually like 5'11", 6 foot, so he was a bigger winger, generally speaking, especially nowadays we see a lot more like 5'8", 5'7", maybe 5'9" at a push wingers. But Figo had everything. Figo could have played anywhere on the pitch, grace. And the problem, the thing with Figo that was so interesting was because he did have this kind of stockier build. You didn't think he was that fast, but blink and he's past you. Ball control, unbelievable amount of assists, important goals. Is one of the. To be fair, it's more players than you'd think who did make the move. From a Madrid to Barca,
Yeah, but
etc. That
I
kind
feel
of
like he's always been the biggest name because he was the best player in the world, and that, like, Barcelona adored him, and him to make that move over, like, he got a pig's head thrown at him. That just shows you the
right,
hate, you know.
right. And he was a fantastic footballer. I don't need to tell anybody listening anything more about Luis Figo or any of his achievements. It's more of a case of just watching the guy and what he was capable of on the football pitch. To me, it sounds silly to say, but obviously largely an underrated all-time player, in my opinion. And he seems to go somewhat forgotten. I think people forget what he was capable of and how much of a talent he was. Him and Zidane always struck me as similar builds and similar kind of styles to a certain extent. And I think that if Luis Figo wanted to play midfield, he'd play like Zidane. And if Zidane wanted to play wing, he'd play like Figo.
The the funny thing about Luis Figo is that coming to the end of his career, as the pace kind of diminished, he turned into that center mid type player for Inter
Right,
Milan and also and like also for Portugal, and that just shows you the ability of the guy. He has that ability. Yeah, he doesn't always need that pace, and like when he
right.
transferred into the middle, and he also played the middle for Real, like Real Madrid at times. He's shown
Yep.
the quality to connect in different areas. Jack, you spoke about his ability. Like he's one of the players that can just stand you up, look at you, and then in the blink of an eye, he's past you
He's
again.
gone.
You know,
Yeah.
it's Figo was one of the
Great
greatest of all
touch,
time.
great
It's
dribbling.
my like my brother said it. Unfortunately, Figo played for Portugal, where Ronaldo is just out and out the greatest to ever do it for Portugal. Even a player like
Right.
Eusebio, who's arguably the greatest, Ronaldo just trumps
Echo.
them. You
Yeah.
know, but Figo, without a doubt, he's definitely in my list. I'm surprised he's that high.
That's what I thought you might say. I thought you might, because for me, I'm looking at some of the names below, and I was just as I was looking at them, I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna care about what James or the commenters think. I'm gonna go on what I'm picking, and I think Figo is that good.
Okay, my number three. So who do I have first? I have Ronaldo and Cruyff.
Ronaldo, Cruyff, you're doing pretty well.
I mean, this list you can't really fail. My number three is Garrincha. Now, Brazilian Garrincha. If you guys don't know about him, just go ahead and Google him. He is what you call an old school type winger. You know, will stand you up, literally will stand you up, and just like Figo, in a blink of an eye, he'll just go past you. He is perhaps take probably Messi and Diego Maradona out of it. He's probably the greatest dribbler we've ever seen. His just ability to go both ways and just beat you with that sort of ease about him was just insane. And the crazy thing about him that he had bold legs, so you didn't really know what he was gonna do because of the way his legs was positioned. Again, he won two World Cups in 1958 and 1962. He led them both times, and I get it. Pele, you know how I feel about Pele. I think Pele was injured for the 62, and he was the one that led Brazil
Right.
to that title. A special player. Unfortunately, it was sad what happened to him because he suffered from what I call the Brazilian syndrome, the party lifestyle, the drinking lifestyle. He could have been better than what he was, but
Right.
he was just a great player. I think they call him like the joy of the people. Just his ability on the ball. Yeah, Garincha, my number three.
Yeah. He's one of these players where I think if Netflix were going to do kind of a docu
Document.
movie, docu
Mm-hmm.
series on somebody, he would be the guy you'd want it on. He struggled with alcoholism, was born, had lots of medical conditions that he needed to overcome as well. He was a really
You know, and,
fascinating.
and and I also think he had a thing for the women.
Oh,
You
dude,
know.
big time. I think if you've got a thing for the drink and you live in Brazil, the thing for the women kind of comes hand in hand with that. But yeah, fascinating player. And the thing is as well, there wasn't really too much of the skill. And what I mean by that is the kind of tricks. It was very old school from a standpoint of, I'm going to go this way. I'm faster than you. See you later. And honestly, that's what wingers were back in the day. And Garincha was incredible at that. I believe he was 5'6", 5'7", very diminutive. But yeah, a kind of a tortured soul. I've got him a little lower down, James. I've got him 8th on my list. And it's
Wow.
purely because of the kind of old school reasons that I usually, I go back to the well on. Yes, he did fantastically well for a great Brazil team of the era. But again, your whole career in that kind of place and compared to today's standards, blah, blah, blah. He's still on my list because he was amazing, but just a little bit lower down. My third pick, again, I think I'm kind of going a little bit against what maybe people think I should do here, and I'm just going on my gut feel. And if you were asking me in a bar, I would tell you. I'm going Ronaldinho number 3. Now, I know that Ronaldinho is not strictly the best goal and assist man, and he's not going to hit Ronaldo Messi numbers from that respect, but the reason why we pay for Now TV, Sky Sports, BT, you name it, is because we want to watch stuff that fills us with joy. Now, James is a bit of a masochist and he's an Arsenal fan, right? So James likes to kind of hurt himself a little bit week to week. But Ronaldinho is the guy who puts a big smile on your face. The one memory that I remember sticking with me forever was, I can't remember whether it was at Milan or whether it was at Barcelona. I think it was Barcelona at the Camp Nou. And Victor Valdez took a goal kick, or maybe it was coming out from a centre back. I can't remember. And Ronaldinho like pretended to tie his boots or something, and then it bounced off his back to like Xavi or something like that. Some crazy thing like that. He did this, and it was so unnecessary and so ridiculous, and it didn't help his team at all to win the game. But he was an entertainer. Nobody got people off their feet like Ronaldinho. James, I'd even argue that Ronaldinho, with his style and the flip-flaps and his long legs and that running style, he probably got fans off their feet faster than any player we're going to mention on this list.
The most entertaining football player of all time, without a doubt.
Absolute legend. And what I love about Ronaldinho, the thing I really love about him, the reason why he kind of stopped playing football at such a top level and kind of just faded off into the distance without kind of going in a blaze of glory, he stopped wanting to entertain, you know, and that was the beauty of the man. He I'm sure he cared about the money, and I'm sure he made his fair share, but the guy was an entertainer. And nowadays we see a lot of people who want to play it safe, want to be conservative because they want to get picked for the next week. Ronaldinho wanted to make people happy. Jogo Bonito is the phrase that I would put next to Ronaldinho. I've gone on for a while there, but I love the man. He's my number 3.
Jack just explained Ronaldinho. Just go watch a clip. Just watch it. Yeah. And if you're not smiling, if you're not open arms seeing what you're seeing from Ronaldinho, you don't love football. Mm-hmm. One of the most entertaining football player of all time. Neymar, yes, Neymar has some outrageous stuff that he does, but the way Ronaldinho did his stuff, it wasn't just the things we've seen on the pitch, it was off the pitch. I remember this classic clip of Ronaldinho playing for AC Milan. He's doing a couple, he's juggling with the ball, kicks the ball up in the air, and the ball drops. It doesn't bounce. It's almost like he killed it dead. The player next to him, like one of his teammates, comes over to him. He's like, "How the hell do you do that?" Ronaldinho then flip-flops it through his legs, and he just looks back at him. I'm like, this guy, just a joy of a football player. Ronaldinho. This list so far has made me so happy, Jack.
And James, players. My final thing on him. Players would foul him, and especially due the latter stages of his career, players would foul him, and they'd be laughing, they'd be smiling because they'd have to tackle him in no way, and Ronaldinho would be laughing because he'd know it was funny, you know.
Jack, he is your favorite. He's your favorite player's favorite player. That's what he like. That's what he is. You think about all the Jadon Sancho's, Neymar's, Ronaldinho's the king to them, and he's also my king. Yes. So my number 4, I have George Best. Now.
That was my next one, James. That was my next one.
Again, if you are a football lover, and especially in the UK, he is perhaps the most gifted as ever came out of the UK in general. You know, for what he was able to do. He was the English version of a Maradona. He was the English version of a Messi. Irish, my bad. Northern Ireland too. So Ireland are gonna claim him. He was that version. The things this guy doing with a football, it was just insane. You know, they called him the 5th Beatle for a reason, because he also had that type of Beatle look. He was like, the females loved him, the men hate him for what he does. And then on the football field, I don't like to use this word, but he took the piss. That's just what he did. Yeah, he just took the piss. And I remember, I think he scored 6 goals in the game. I'm not sure what team it was against. And then the 6th goal where he scored, he stopped it and he kicked it into the net. He turned around and went like, "That's it. I'm done for the day." Just incredible. Unfortunately for George Best, like, his peak didn't last for long. He kind of stopped around 27 when his peak kind of dropped. But when he did have it, it was just insane. And people say, who's Manchester United's greatest player of all time? The majority would say George Best. And
he's a reason. James, you know, he's up there. He's up there. And I think the thing that's most telling about him in particular, and this is the thing, if some people watching are like, "Oh, I'm not sold on him," you speak with Bobby Charlton, And I'm not saying I've spoken with Bobby Charlton, but in books and interviews, Bobby Charlton, Dennis Law, any of these guys that played with him, Manchester United legends, great, just the holy trinity of Law, Charlton, and Best. There's that statue outside of Old Trafford. They'll tell you that he's the best they've ever seen. And like you said, it's similar to Garrincha in a way. Struggled with alcohol, struggled with women, and Garrincha and Best. It kind of reminds me of it's like Elvis Presley, right? Elvis Presley, Bill Burr, the stand-up comedian, does this great bit on the fact that Elvis Presley kind of peaked at a time where there was television and there was this and there was that and there was notoriety and all this stuff. So he made all the mistakes that no one had made yet. And it was similar for George Best and Garrincha. These were guys who grew up in an era where these kind of superstars, like kind of television superstars and newspapers and tabloids and stuff, it was all exploding and no one had made the mistake, so nobody could give him any advice. So it's sad from that respect.
He had the ability of like Diego Maradona, but had the fame of a David Beckham. He was larger than life at that time.
That's a good
just
comparison.
George Best, insane.
Final thing, because I remember watching a George Best documentary when I was younger. I believe it's Bobby Charlton. He tells this great story where just in any given game it would be George, I'm open, George, I'm open, George, you selfish, great goal, damn it, great goal. And that's what he was like, that was the kind of character. So yeah, he was going to be my next one.
And also one of the greatest dribblers of all time. Like his dribbling ability was just insane. But yes, Jack, you go.
So I'm glad we're kind of doing a little bit of a memory lane walk at this point, because that moves us on to Stanley Matthews. Now, Stanley Matthews, I'm sure is your dad or your granddad's footballer that he's told you all about. He won the first ever Ballon d'Or in 1956, which obviously we now, well, maybe not now, James, but especially maybe 5-6 years ago, we used to kind of respect that award as a serious achievement. And certainly at this point, it was a huge achievement. The thing with Stanley Matthews is, and it's similar to a lot of guys on this list, you're not looking at goals and assists and titles and European Cups and all this kind of stuff to try and justify that this would be what happened. Stanley Matthews is the reason, in the UK in particular, why a lot of footballers play a certain way. If you watch any clips of him, you'll see him, in terms of his body position and in terms of the way that he manipulates space, it's how a lot of the better midfielders and forwards play football right now. He was so different, and he would do certain things that no one had ever really seen before, that he influenced an entire generation of footballers. And then that led to the development of football. We didn't speak too much about Johan Cruyff, but Johan Cruyff and Stanley Matthews are in that kind of similar ilk. They are the kind of seed that has blossomed the Leo Messis and the Cristiano Ronaldos of today, in terms of just the style of running, the impact they had. I've got a couple of pointers here that I've written down as well. He's the only player to receive a knighthood while still playing professionally, which was quite something. And my final thing on him, Franz Beckenbauer said that his speed and skill that he possessed meant that almost no one in the game could stop him. This is a guy where the kind of myth and legend status comes across because of what he was able to do that was so different from everybody else in an era where football was kind of dull, boring, and it was very much dominated by the South American players. Stanley Matthews brought a little bit of that flair and pace and quick decision-making to the UK, which then influenced an entire generation and their kids.
Jack, I feel like we should just have this show in black and white. Because
it feels like it.
But it is what it is in this situation. We love who we love right now from like the wingers of what we see now of your Neymars and Mbappes. But guys, there's football before these guys, and the players that we mentioned today, these are all-time greats. And Stanley Matthews, when I was doing this list, when I was doing my research about it, he was the name that popped up every single time. He was the first real English type player who had that sort of Brazilian flair ability. There wasn't anything like him, like before, and that's what made him stand out the most. The ability of what he had, and especially around that time, insane.
He's also I would argue this as well from the very little that I've seen from Garrincha and Stanley Matthews. Stanley Matthews is the type of guy who could play now. His acknowledgement, and I'm usually on the most part, I feel that the older guys are nowhere near the newer guys, and that trying to do the thing where you throw an era into another era with nutrition and sports science and stuff, that's not fair, because it just is what it is. Let's just call it what it is, right? Stanley Matthews, his acknowledgement of space and the way that he operates within the space, his close ball control and his touch, he could play now. He might not be a winger, but he could play now.
That's some ridiculous praise. But last one for me, and I want to get some of our boys in so I can really explain and we guys can really relate. But I'm gonna stick with that era, and I'm gonna go back to the
Really?
1970s
Okay.
again, and I have Giazinho. Giazinho, guys,
Okay.
if you don't know, is a Brazilian winger. He was the second player ever to score in every game in a World Cup finals. So I think there were 6 games in our World Cup in 1970. He scored in every game, and for that Brazil team, a lot of people will argue that he outshone the great Pele.
Right.
Um, in
He,
that
he's
World
on
Cup,
he's on my honorable mentions, by the way.
you
So I'm
know,
agreeing. Like, yes.
he played for Botafogo. I'm not going to say I know too much about him, but I went back, looked back at the clips and like looking what he has achieved, and especially what modern day wingers are today. He is what they are today. This like this silky Brazilian flair, this ability to take on players, have no fear. He was that type of player, and he makes my list. And that just shows you how special he is.
Yeah, James. And the thing is, yes, it's a very, very hard evaluation. Those South American guys who never left the continent, who did well in World
No, I
Cups, and
think he also played for Marseille too. He
oh, he
went
did.
he
Okay.
went over to Marseille, played and had a decent time there. But I think his magnus opus was that night. I think everyone who played for Brazil in that 1970 World Cup, they're
Yeah.
immortalized for what they did.
Yes.
And and, and
100%.
and and like you go back and you really look at what they did, it was special
Yes, and
because
that's the thing. It's a very hard evaluation. So I think that you're just as right to not have them in as you would have them. That he's an honorable mention for me. I do have 2 others in my top 10, which is kind of good because it gives us somewhat of a talking point as we transition to our honorable mentions. I think I've got 7 honorable mentions that I really felt needed to brought up. And guys, there's hundreds out there. We could be here all day.
listen.
Um,
I hate this. Us doing this type of list because there's so many. Like I feel bad leaving out some. I'm not. I'm gonna leave the honorable mentions to
right.
afterwards. But there's just so many great
So
players
hang
that.
on, let me. One thing I haven't done is put your name on Giazinio yet. So let me do that. And then finally, guys, James was talking about giving some credit to some of the newer guys, and I'm going to do that now. And I say newer, he's still kind of newer. Iron Robin.
He
And
was on
again,
my like. He was one. It was between him or like Giazinho, and I just felt, oh, let me just go for him.
the reason why I've gone for Iron Robin is he has everything you'd need to win a debate on a Fox Sports network against Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith, right? He's got the titles, he's got the clubs, he's got goals, he's got assists, he's got all that stuff, right? We know that. He played in the World Cup final, he's got all that stuff, right? Very few players in the history of football, and a lot of them on this list actually don't possess something that Iron Robin has. And that is a certain level of unstoppability. And what I mean by that is nobody, I think, really, there are obviously a couple of names, but nobody really, put fear into a left back like Iron Robin did. Because Iron Robin was able to manipulate a certain move to such a level and to such an extent that's never been bettered, that he then opened up another area of space for himself. And of course, what I'm referring to is cutting in and pinging the ball in the goal.
Classic.
Now we laugh because it's so ridiculous because you know exactly what he's going to do, but I can't really give you much of a demonstration here. But if Iron Robin's running here and the camera's the goal and he cuts in, the fullback knows he's going to do that. So the fullback will stand here. But then Iron Robin will look at that whole byline and he'll go, I'll just run down there and cross it. He gave himself such an advantage because he had this one move that was so unstoppable for so long that he easily became the most reliable and best winger in the world, in my opinion, during a good couple of years spell. And obviously he had the achievements as well and was a great player, but very rarely can you have a skill of that nature. And yes, he played in a great team with somebody who I would argue is unlucky not to be on this list either, James, in Frank Ribery. But Iron Robin and that unstoppability factor, for me, he deserves the number 10 spot so far as we have him.
I'm happy he's on there. I'm genuinely happy he's on there because again, we grew up watching him. Iron Robin didn't just put fear in one player. He put fear in a whole team, and teams have to build a system to stop this guy from playing. So you have the fullback who has to stop him, and then we'll send him down the line. If he does go down the line, what's going to happen then? You get the defensive midfielder to come in. If he beats him, you get another defensive midfielder to come in. So they almost created a wall to stop this guy. And with all these systems,
centre backs, James, trying to block the shot.
Centre backs, with all these systems around him to trying to stop Iron Robin, you know what happened? He still got a shot away. He still found a way. Now, Iron Robin's highlight reel will be the same goal every single time. Just like think about it, just in different stadiums and in different boots.
Yeah.
But let me tell you this now.
A lot in Munich, though.
a lot of Munich, but it's just some of the most unstoppable things I've ever seen in my life. Iron Robin, just a breath of fresh air. The one thing I wish he did was score that goal in the World Cup, and we can call him a World Cup winner. And this debate would be undoubt.
But James, so Premier League title with Chelsea.
Yes. La Liga title
with Real Madrid.
Yes.
50 Bundesliga titles, right? With Bayern, Champions League, and then obviously a World Cup final where he was somewhat unlucky.
You know, and you look at him right now. He was the type of player that, to me, he's still playing right now. And if Iron Robin really wanted to, he could still play at that level. The problem with Robin is that he had such a bad injury record. He had bones of glass, and that's what kept him out for so long. But when he was on the pitch, Jack, we talk Messi and like Ronaldo. Iron Robin is easily a top 5 player of this generation for what he has done. You know, in a fear he struck into hearts. Messi and Ronaldo were a doubt, like the fear was undoubt. But Robin had that type of fear that was almost on the level of Messi and like Ronaldo times, and I'm really, really delighted he's on the list.
Sorry, I thought that was one where I thought was a bit of a risk because I was thinking your list of honourable mentions might be a bit like, hang on, Jack, what about this guy?
He is. But the one thing I forgot to mention with Johan Cruyff.
Yes,
Johan Cruyff has, in my opinion, the greatest skill of all time in the Cruyff term. And that's what also makes him one of the greatest. So,
James, that's Ronaldo's chop doesn't happen. I know Ronaldo didn't make the chop, but I know Ronaldo's chop does not happen if the Cruyff. And don't get me wrong, that move was around prior to Johan Cruyff doing it, but with the fake cross, no one had done that. No one had done that. People have used the inside of their foot to pull it behind their standing leg before, but nobody had done it from a standpoint of faking to shoot or faking to cross. And that iconic video that we've all seen 100 times of him in that beautiful burnt orange Dutch kit, just skinning that poor guy. I can't remember. I don't even know who that was against.
Jack, let's get into some quick honourable mentions now.
Very quickly, do you have a member of your top 10 that you or I haven't said?
I have Roberto Rivellino.
Okay, you want to say a piece on him?
Again, he's one that I just didn't know too much about. Again, he's more of one of them FIFA players. Played in that Brazil 1970 team. Played for Botafogo. Again, Pele calls him one of the greatest Brazilian players of all time. Me watching football is greatest in seeing the history behind him. Just a wow type of player. It's hard for me because when you have to do so much research on some of these players that you're not too familiar with. Yeah, but he was.
It's hard to get hyped.
It's hard to get crazy hyped about it. But he was one that I probably should have made the list over Giazinio. Probably a better football player.
Right.
Well, I just because Giazinio, especially what he did in that World Cup, was scoring in every single game. That's me that's what got me.
Well, but to inject a bit of hype, my final guy on my top 10 who didn't make the cut because I got my guys in early, Gareth Bale.
That was also on my list too. That's weird.
Yeah. And to me, it's big moments. It's I mean, big performances. I don't just mean the Inter Milan game. It's spectacular goals. It's doing it in multiple places. It's what he's been able to do for his country. Guys, Wales are never going to win bleep, right? But with Gareth Bale, there's always a shot. There's always a shot, and it's not always him doing it as well. It's the confidence that he bleeds into his players. Now, we know that Gareth Bale's career is just probably going to fizzle out without much of a bang because I don't think he cares much anymore. But we cannot underestimate some of the stuff he's done. The overhead kick, the Mark Bartra goal, him versus Maicon in Inter Milan, that final season at Spurs, this guy is unbelievable.
Gareth Bale is a player that, in my opinion, has underachieved a little bit of what he possibly could have been. You look at his time at like Real Madrid, there was never really a consistent season. By the first season where he was just at it, the way we know
Was it
Bale
his
as.
fault though, James? Was it his fault?
Yes. It was a bit of
okay.
It was also a loss. It was a loss of hunger from him, a loss of love for the game, and I think that was due to the relationship with the fans in like Madrid, and also just a bunch of injuries at the same time. But Gareth Bale.
Do you want to kind of rattle off some of your remaining honorable mentions? We can
a few
talk
honorable
about
mentions. Pavel. We got Pavel Nedved.
Nedved, I got him.
Ballon d'Or. Rivaldo. I think he's more of a striker than a winger, but
I would agree.
He's more of a striker.
He might be coming up in another video.
he might be. We got Andrei Konchesky. We got David Ginola. We have.
I didn't have either of them.
We got Marco Overmars. We have Neymar.
Marco Mars, yeah.
Frank. We have Frank Ribery.
Frank Ribery, I've got him. Did you say Neymar in there?
Yes, Neymar.
Yeah, I've got Neymar. Yeah.
Ryan Giggs. We got David Beckham.
I don't know about Ryan Giggs.
Jack, you have to at least we have to.
The acknowledgement is there, sure,
yes.
But I think that if we're trying to do this from everybody has the same team, like your teammates are the same. It's just who you put in there. I don't know if Giggs' top end talent.
No, do you know what it is? I feel like it's more or less Giggs' career that like gets me,
and his achievements. Yeah, longevity. Right. So yeah, James, for me, Beckham. Another really good honorable mention. Dead ball striker, crossing. Yes, of course, he got sucked up into the Hollywood lifestyle. He married a pop star. Posh Spice, hard to turn down. I don't blame the guy, especially way back when. But on top of that, we mentioned Neymar. For me, the only two other names that I've got on my honorable mentions list that you didn't bring up are Kevin Keegan and Hristo Stoichkov. Yes. Those would be the only two other guys that I would bring up. Have you got any others remaining?
One more I would love to name is John Barnes. Just an absolute special player. But so far, Jack, that's it. But guys, if you left anyone out, please comment down below. Let us know if you agree with our list. If you disagree with our list, let us know, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.